Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Data Dialogues. I'm Julien Redmond, General Manager at Certus Insight. For today's episode, I switched roles to the other side of the table. Instead of asking the questions, I'll be the one answering them. In a recent IBM Think ANZ event, Kevin Redmond, the Director of Data, AI and Automation at IBM APAC, quizzed me about how we're using DataOps to create business-ready analytics functions for our customers. We recorded the audio of the session, and I think the conversation will be valuable to the Data Dialogues audience. So we decided to turn it into this episode. So here's my chat with Kevin.
Maybe we can just start with maybe just your experiences of working with the IBM portfolio and the value it brings to your clients and to your business as well. We can just share some insights.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I've been working with IBM for coming closer to 20 years than I'd like to mention, I guess, and specifically working with the InfoSphere suite of products as they were originally called for more than 12 years now. And my team's focused heavily in that time on delivering information management platforms and data warehouses, but always with a really strong bent on information governance. And that aligned us very early to the IBM technology. With originally the business glossary, and then as it's evolved to IGC and now to What's a Knowledge Catalog. We've been there for all those iterations, helping customers to deliver information governance as part of their information management projects. And we've seen it evolve, seen it really become a real enabler for business rather than quite a cumbersome project as they used to be. And so it's been quite a long journey.
Yeah, and I think we've spoken a number of times. I think you're seeing a massive uptick in business as well as organizations have exactly as was mentioned earlier, have recognized the need that rubbish in gives rubbish out. And if you don't spend the time, you're going to have failed projects. What are you hearing from your clients now, and what are you seeing in the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, your team's already mentioned, DataOps, and we're very pro DataOps, I guess, as a concept, and we're very pro governance for the reasons of having trusted data. And I think if you go back 8 or 10 years, there was an IBM whiteboard that was all about trusted data, and I still break out that whiteboard every now and then. Although the technologies have moved on, the architecture underlying it's pretty similar. And what we're really trying to do, the end goals is deliver trusted data that end users can kind of do managed self-service BI on. And so my view of all of that is that things are just getting better. The tools are getting better. The approaches are getting better. We use a term non-invasive governance in our consulting practice, and there's a bit of a community around that globally. And the last speaker, Andreas, was just talking about the breadth of the IBM governance tooling, and we're full believers of that. It allows for non-invasive governance, for governance to be automated as much as possible, to be delivered project by project, to get built up into the organization rather than that kind of monolithic top down, but it still delivers that trusted platform for real BI and real analytics.
And you've been doing this a while, and you've been working with IBM and your team with IBM for a number of years. What would you say would be, say some of your learnings or suggestions for partners that may be new to IBM's data governance catalog and the rest of our data ops? What would you be, what would your suggestions be, other than obviously to come and work with you on some projects, but outside of that, what else would be your suggestion?
Yeah, I think IBM's made an amazing platform in CloudPack with lots of tools and lots of capability, and lots of things are now starting to get driven by AI, like data classification and those sorts of things. But I would also say that governance is very process driven, and it's really the bit that a consultancy can do is help to organize the organization into the structure they're going to need, the governance council and the workshops and the processes they'll need to put in place to actually manage their governance. Because while classifying your information and identifying your highly sensitive data and cataloging your business glossary is all really good things, you do need to work on that behavioural side as well. So there's definitely a part to that. And I think the other part that we focus heavily on, and others definitely do that as well, is look for all the opportunities for automation. And we do that constantly about how we can automate the governance side, or how we can automate modeling of data or generation of ETL code, all those sorts of things. You've made it quite easy in that a lot of the handoff steps between the technologies deployed in CloudPack are automated, but also within that, there's things we can do to automate processes.
Yeah, I think yesterday we heard from ST Engineering as well, and they were talking about the 3 Ps, people, product, and process. And I think it's very clear that that's critical to the success of any of the projects that we're looking at here. CloudPack for Data really helps that. It reduces the risk, but it is people and process are so critical.
Well, yeah, as you know, we use the Data Vault methodology, and we train and certify people in that. And training an organization's people in whatever methodology it is, the approach that they're going to use the tools for, and how they're going to approach managing their data is a big part of that. And I think what you guys have done is actually make it easier to not get as worried about the nuts and bolts and the architecture and the technical integration points, because those things are actually more and more being taken care of for customers, and they can focus on their own people and their own processes and their own training. And then obviously, if you can build the skill sets, if they've already got the right tool sets, then you're likely to get better outcomes.
Yeah, and that's part of the overall strategy, which we're hearing throughout this week, is around simplification. How do we simplify not only our portfolio, but the tools themselves? How do we bring AI into our tooling to make everything work better? We heard yesterday around bringing AI into DB2 and how that's improving our data warehousing and our query management side of things, but we're also bringing it into every aspect. I've done a number of analyst calls recently where people are surprised. Analysts are surprised that we're infusing AI into our own solutions, and I'm always surprised they're surprised. But I think you guys are starting to see the benefit of that now, right? You're starting to see that coming through as a value add to your clients.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're always. It's interesting as a service provider. Obviously a fair chunk of our revenue comes from providing resources to our customers who are highly trained and skilled. But we're more and more focusing on how they can help automate an organization's processes and information management, rather than just have billable time building ETL code or some other low value activity. So we're really looking at how do we bring the approaches that enable them, that actually help them to build skills or help them to build and automate processes all the way through. Because the ultimate goal, I think, is to have them shift their skilled resources towards the analytics end, the SME sort of end of the spectrum, rather than the data engineering end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what we are trying to see. We've had a number of discussions. I shared on day one around a shift in jobs that are in demand, and I think many of us saw or will remember the comment that a data scientist is the new sexy. I can't remember who it was that quoted that, but somebody said data science is the new sexy. Now there was a number of years now, I think we've all been seeing this massive demand for data scientists, but actually what's happened is that the tooling has just become such that we're all data scientists.
Yeah.
Even my good self, I've set up some deep fakes of my own. I would hardly call myself a massive genius, but I've done some deep fakes of my own, which the team has found most amusing. But I think using the tooling is allowing us to, bring in automation, bringing AI, and now you actually allow the power of the people to focus on more of the high value stuff rather than, as you say, the ETL, rewriting or anything else that needs to be done. It's I'm very much looking forward to seeing how your business develops, how you're adding more value to the clients. What are your kind of outlooks? I'm always interested to know what your views are on where this is going and how you're going to progress moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are always talking about what's just being released or what's coming and how it's shifting. And our activities with our customers are generally 18 months or 2 years behind that. And we're seeing people now starting to shift. So there's still quite a demand, I guess, from us for data engineers and people who can write SQL code or develop data stage ETL and those sorts of things. We're seeing customers who invested in the platforms in the past, and they're still keeping those systems alive, but they're starting to think about how they're going to move to something. And maybe in a year's time, they won't need ETL developers. They'll be shifting to a more data consumption sort of focus. So we're in that transition phase, and we're discussing with our customers all the options, I guess, available and how to leverage the new technologies that are coming. And obviously we often have conversations around methodologies for modeling and all of those sorts of things as well. And we talk about the implications of governance for their business and regulatory compliance, and all these things are all kind of coming as customers modernize. And I think that's where the DataOps thing comes in. They're all trying to modernize to be ready for real, DataOps supporting DevOps. And so we did a project with a customer, one of the banks, and to prove a point, we did a sprint in a day where we absorbed a number of source system tables into the warehouse and all the way through to draft BI reports in a single day. And that was to prove that speed can actually happen and that they can react really quickly to a C-level demand for, I need this piece of analysis because of maybe a crisis or something like that. And so you wouldn't run a team at that pace usually, but it does prove that capability is starting to emerge, that true agility is starting to emerge. So we're caught in the middle of this, helping with the old world and keeping all the lights on while preparing for the new world.
Yeah, I think that's something, which we're seeing accelerated at the moment. You and I haven't met for a while. It's been, I think, last time I was down in Australia was in February, just before I got slapped with my stay-at-home notice. But have you seen any dramatic shifts in the last 6 months? I mean, obviously Australia has been as impacted, if not more, than many other places. Have you seen a change in behavior and requests coming from your clients? And what's your view of the market?
If I probably didn't even say DataOps until about February, and now it's a term in every conversation almost. And I think because we have the other parts of Certus that that do mobile development and software development and other things, they exist in that DevOps world, and so we have digital transformation type discussions with with some of our strategic customers, and we're really having conversations around how data is the foundation that all those initiatives are going to be built on, and that's leading back to, well, how can we modernize the information management platform? And that's where we're getting into, and for us, that becomes a conversation around Data Vault as the methodology that we tend to use, around the technology options, around the need for governance. As you know, we love the Cloud Pak scenario. We also have a smaller kind of version on an ESA that we've got with IBM as well. So our own solution that leverages the IBM technology. We we have those conversations and really start talking about how can we be ready? How can we help them get ready to be agile? And it's not, I'm not having a lot of conversations actually about regulatory compliance pushing this, but more about how is it going to support the change in the business. And that's been a bit of a shift, because if we went back pre-February, most conversations were probably more around regulatory compliance. And that may be a regional thing with Australia, I'm not sure, but just personally, the conversations I'm getting in, it's a lot of organisations are saying to us, we are going through or we're about to go through a digital transformation, and we need a better foundation for it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, actually. The driver has typically been you must do this kind of driver. It's been we've seen it in not just in Australia, but in lots of areas across AP, but also especially in Europe and the US, where it's data lineage has been very important. It's you've turned down this person's bank loan. Why did you turn it down? And you need to be able to understand the entire decision points, and that comes. You can't do that if you don't have the foundation right. It's absolutely critical. So, but I think you're exactly right. That the shift has been from a regulatory push to a client requirement and a business requirement. It is. I don't think it's limited to the market.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think organisations are realising that they're going to need to do that to survive now, because things are shifting so quickly. So, and one of the things we've done, we've built a set of automation templates that generate data stage code. So when we go into an organisation, on top of all of the automation that Cloudback delivers, we can deliver ETL automation. And by doing that, we're populating all of the Watson Knowledge Catalog with every step we're doing through that. Or those are the extra little bits of automation that can be built in that help these things, roll out, and we can roll out a warehouse in weeks rather than months or years. So, I think that helps. And then on top of that, you've got a reactive and agile platform.
All right. That was my chat with Kevin Redmond. I hope you found it valuable. As always, reach out if you have any questions for me, and I look forward to bringing you another episode soon.